What's up, Halas Huddlers? OTAs are in the works, and Daniel Jeremiah is posting things on Twitter about what it will take to have a championship foundation, what roster positions are needed, and we're going to dive into the Chicago Bears. Do they have what it takes to win a Super Bowl in 2026, or at least are they setting themselves up for a Super Bowl run in the very near future? I'm Rob Schwarz with Bear Goggles On. Tonight with me are my good friends and co-hosts Bob Weiss and Justin Onayemi. This is the Halas Huddle, where we break down this roster and figure out exactly what to expect this season.
That's right. Welcome in, Halas Huddle. Again, we are on a quest for 2,000 subscribers. We're making lots of progress over just the past year, monstrous growth, and we're inching our way towards that 2,000. We'd love to hit that definitely by the season starts, but why not aim for the start of training camp? We're going to have a lot of fun over these next few weeks until we get to the middle of August. So please hit that subscribe button. If you like what's going on in this episode, hit that like button, comment below. Let us know what you think as we go position by position. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, all right. So why don't we jump in? If you're following on the tracker on the side, you can kind of see a preview of what we're talking about here. But as Rob mentioned, Daniel Jeremiah said that this is something, he said it'd be a fun exercise to look at, do teams have these 12 critical things that would make them Super Bowl contenders? So we're going to talk about each one, but real quick, quarterback, you should probably have one of those. 3 offensive playmakers, 3 quality O-linemen, 2 pass rushers, and 3 defensive playmakers. We have some questions that we're going to throw in along the way, but gentlemen, let's start with quarterback. I know where I stand, but Rob, you think the Bears have a quarterback?
I just so happened to be searching for something on Twitter today, and I stumbled upon one of my own tweets. A tweet that took place September 30th of 2023. And it was a stat line of Caleb Williams in a game where he put up 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, and over 400 passing yards. And in that post, I said, Bears, you need to be watching this. This guy deserves to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next April. Didn't even know the Bears were going to have a chance to get him. But that tells you right then and there. Look, Justin Fields was the quarterback. He was coming off a decent year. There was a lot of hype around it, but you still had to pay attention to what was going on with Caleb Williams. Look, his rookie year, it was a wash. Matt Eberflus was just crap. That whole entire regime, just let's wipe it out of memory and just put that in the playbook with Mark Trestman, right? Like those 2 guys, they belong in a room together. Let's lock the door, pull it from our brains, and not think about them ever again. We saw the highlight reel potential with this offense under Ben Johnson and what Caleb Williams can do, and we saw what he projects to do as the season got going, right? The more he learned that playbook, and we've heard Ben Johnson say year 2 is going to make a big difference, right? So I'm expecting even more from this team this year. Over his last 6 games, he averaged at least 2 touchdowns per game and over 275 yards average per game. Over a 17-game season, and I know, look, 6 games, maybe that's not a big enough sample size, but that's a pretty good chunk of a 17-game season, right? If that extrapolated over that 17-game season, we're talking over 4,500 passing yards, over 30-plus touchdowns. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting quite that, but I do expect him to break the record this year for the Chicago Bears, the first ever to hit that 4,000-yard mark. We teased it last summer. We thought he might fall a little bit short, but had that chance. That's kind of what happened. And now this year, it's happening. It's happening.
Too many drops. Bob? What do you got?
I mean, Rob, you kind of hit on it. Like, if I'm just giving a binary assessment, do we have the quarterback or not? It's obviously yes. We could win with this quarterback. But you kind of said it where he just put together an incredible highlight reel this past season. I still want to see some growth and some meat and potatoes between the highlights, basically, right? 58% completion percentage, not good enough. Not good enough. You got to get to that. 70% is what they target. But, I mean, with those highlight-type plays that he makes, maybe he really just needs to be a 64 to 65% guy, but that is still a huge improvement, right? So do we have the quarterback? Yes. Is he performing at a championship level consistently? I don't think so yet, but I absolutely think he's got all the the tools and he's got all the support that he needs to get there as well. So yes, the Bears have a quarterback.
You guys both said some awesome things. I just want to glue them together. So you, Rob, made me cringe a little by bringing up Mark Trestman and Eberflus, and Daniel Jeremiah didn't mention coach. When I look at teams that are contenders, do you have a quarterback and do you have a coach? If you can say yes to both those things, I think you're a contender, regardless of a lot of these other things we're going to talk about. And so the fact that it's Ben Johnson leading Caleb here, I think is big. His rookie year with Eberflus, I think his completion percentage was 62.5. Even if he just got back to that, imagine the numbers. And to your point, Bob, more efficiency, that type of thing, it can go a long way so that these aren't all, fourth quarter comebacks that we're on the edge of our seats. And you're just going to win some games comfortably. And then maybe you don't need as many defensive playmakers. We'll get to that part. So next on the list was offensive playmakers. And Daniel Jeremiah says, if you're going to be serious, you need 3. I'm counting here. I think we have it, right?
Yes. I mean, as much as I love Caleb Williams, I think the Bears might be closer to definitively having the 3 offensive playmakers than the quarterback. I think, well documented on this channel here that I think Luther Burden is an absolute stud. And some of the things that he did last year are things that only the most elite weapons in the NFL do. Now, we need to see him do it over a larger sample size, but it's not like he made 8 incredible plays and then just had a bunch of drops and missed stuff. It's like every single route he ran was meaningful and efficient. So if he can just do that over the course of a whole season, we're talking about an elite offensive weapon. You have Colston Loveland, who emerged as a go-to guy in a high-level NFL offense. So we're talking about, just the catch radius, the routes, everything that he can do. And Rome Odunze is the one that I still feel like maybe I'm higher than the population on Rome Odunze. But, I mean, he still has all those tools. Justin?
Yeah, I'm a Rome Odunze supporter and fan as well. And it's funny that you mentioned 2 guys that were rookies before you even got to Odunze. And so I think Odunze, let's not forget, we can't wipe our memories completely. He started last season strong. And there was an injury that he played through and then didn't play through. And I don't know how much that affected what then ended up happening. I think his stats overall were a bit underwhelming, but DJ Moore is out. The balls he was getting targeted with mostly are going to now go to the 3 you just mentioned. And I want to just throw in there the combination of DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai as playmakers. Neither one of them is Pro Bowl or All Pro, but as a tandem, they were basically the best in the NFL last year. And maybe some of that has to do with running behind some quality O-linemen, which is why this list does kind of make sense. It all comes together. And if you can run the ball the way the Bears did last year, that takes pressure off a guy like Caleb Williams, and it opens up opportunities for playmakers like Loveland, Burden, and Odunze. Rob, what do you got?
Yeah, you guys stole all the thunder. I'm not going to add too much there. I'm glad that you did bring up the duo, right? Oh, look at that. And a soccer shirt. I love it. I am glad that you brought up the duo of Kyle Monangai, which, by the way, seeing some clips of him, what he's been working out on, I think he's just going to get even better this year. And then DeAndre Swift, look, combined, they combined for over 1,800 yards, 14 rushing touchdowns. That was a massive upgrade that we saw this year. And I do think the system and the offensive line does play a part in that. We will talk about the offensive line here in a minute. So I probably should have waited to segue into that cleaner. That's okay. We'll do it again. But those 3 guys were it. Loveland, number 1, A, Burden, 1B. I love Rome too. He's my 2, okay, in this scenario. But can you imagine? I'm fine with that. Would anyone get mad about T. Higgins being your number 2? That's how I picture him, right? He's going to be that guy. And if Luther Burden can take that step and maintain and build off of that, the Bears are going to have an awesome offense. We already know this. To the point of Loveland, too, I want to throw this in there is also, he did not see more than 4 targets until week 5, right? He was a rookie coming off a shoulder injury. It took time for him to get ramped up, and then he just hit the floor and went running. Over 700 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. The guy is going to be elite.
I'm gonna ruin your segue, and I might ruin it a lot. But
You
Bob,
can just take the segue.
do you remember during the season? I don't remember what advanced metric we were talking about, but we were comparing Luther Burden to like player receivers of the past, and like I forget what stat it was, but he was right up there with like
I believe it's like yards per target or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Odell Beckham and Julio Jones and like all these like insane receivers. Yeah, I think, but like, it might have been Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson didn't quite have a crazy rookie year, if I remember right. But like, just an absolute stud. But I do want to kind of push back on Monangai and Swift being like playmaking weapons. I think that they're what a solid starting running back should do in the NFL in this offense behind that offensive line. I don't think these guys are special. I don't think they're unique. They're productive. I like that they're on the team. And if they're the support for these real true weapons, I think that's phenomenal. But like, I just don't think that we need to be talking up Swift and Monangai as some crazy elite duo, and really they're just NFL quality running backs in a productive offense.
Okay, productive offense. That part you got, because I'll push back on your pushback, and maybe guys in the chat, you can look up the stat and comment in the chat. Explosive plays are considered to be 20 yards plus on throwing, and I believe 10 yards running. And the Bears were up there in both. And so you might be right, like they themselves, and that's why I said I don't think they're all pros or Pro Bowlers. But Bears were high up there in explosive plays for running, which I know is an 11-man achievement, not just, I mean, there are running backs that just do it on their own. Neither one of these guys is Barry Sanders. But
and some of that just might be semantics of what Daniel Jeremiah is trying to get after here, though. But I mean, I took it as like, teams have something a bit above and beyond what others do. But also when you talk about offensive playmakers, I know we already talked quarterback, but does everything that Caleb Williams does with his legs, extending plays and everything, like, does that count as a fourth playmaker? Because that's elite. That's unique. That's not something all these other, like Jared Goff isn't doing that. Jordan Love isn't doing that, right? Jordan Love does some kind of crazy, unique things, but not like Caleb Williams does. So
yeah, you had Micah Parsons pretending to be him as the scout quarterback. That shows that they were spending time game planning for his running ability, his escape ability. So to your point, and maybe that's how we should have qualified this, who are teams, defenses keying in on that we're going to need to prepare for these guys? And maybe you're right. Teams aren't losing sleep over Swift and Monangai, but they might be over Loveland, Burden, and Odunze.
I don't know. The way Swift played last year, I know from a whole, but the way he played last year, he himself had over 1,300 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns. Like, compare that to the rest of the league. I'm going to bet he's probably top 10. To me, that's a playmaking running back.
I would argue that the pushback I would have is that there are 20 running backs in the NFL given those same opportunities who would put up those numbers.
But they're not. Or they didn't last year.
Right, but I don't think that makes you like an elite playmaker. I don't think that makes you anything unique. That just makes you a guy who's supposed to be in the NFL doing the things you're supposed to do in a good offense.
I probably got my bear goggles on way too tight, but Kyle Monangai outproduced Ashton Genty last year. So,
but that's exactly my point, Rob. Are you telling me that if the Raiders call, you're not trading Monangai straight up for Ashton Genty?
No, give me Jeremiah Love.
Okay, the Cardinals. I mean, it's the same question.
All right, good job.
I'm just bleeding blue and orange over here. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. It's the off season.
Maybe Monangai and Swift were successful because they were playing behind a quality offensive line.
Maybe.
That's a segue.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Look, this is a great segue, but this is a great time to also segue this. Guys, in the chat, we were talking about this ahead of time. We were thinking, let's compare the Bears to the NFC North, right? And I think this is a good way to do it because right now my mind is like Bears. But where do they compare to the other teams in the NFC North? If you want that episode, hit the chat. Let us know. Yes, no, fuck Green Bay. I'll take those all as answers, okay? Just let us know. Let us know in the chat.
All right, rewind. I segued and Rob, go.
Yeah, so look, going into this offseason, I would have told you, heck yes, they have 3 quality offensive linemen. Probably 4. The problem is Drew Dahlman retired. And you're guaranteed, obviously, you have won in a Hall of Famer who can play your left guard position, might have to play left tackle at times, right? And then you got a right tackle that is, in my opinion, a consistent Pro Bowl level right tackle in Darnell Wright. So you got two. Are you going to say Jonah Jackson is that third? He played like it in the back half of the year. So I would say maybe. We're going to have to see if he can continue to maintain that consistency. We don't know what we're going to have at center. I'm hoping it's Logan Jones outplays Garrett Bradbury and takes over that center spot and just runs with it. We've seen other rookies who were high-level impact guys that were drafted in the second round in not Cushenberry. I always mess it up. It's not Cushenberry. Who's the freaking guy in Kansas City?
Creed
Humphrey. Thank you. Humphrey.
This is the second or third time we bailed you out on that one.
I know. Every time I screw it up. Him and Lindenbaum, right? Both guys who started as rookies and played their whole rookie year and did extremely well and has continued to progress throughout their careers. That's what I want to see with Logan Jones. I hope he can become for sure the third. They clearly don't have a quality left tackle, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting that we went from offensive playmaker, and playmaker sounds, to Bob's point, like, whoa, you're up there, to just quality. Like, Tooney is not just quality. I mean, you said he's a Hall of Famer, but he's still playing at a high level. And I feel the same way about Darnell Wright. Like, they're above just quality. And so Jonah Jackson's the one where, you know, he had a down year prior to coming to the Bears. I think this year with the Bears in 2025 reestablished himself as quality lineman. And you don't know what you have at left tackle. You don't necessarily know what you have at center. But a line plays as a unit. And to have two guys that you know are above that level, I think means you probably will get to the three that you need. It's just a matter of who they are. And hopefully they stay healthy, because last year I felt the Bears were very healthy on the O-line. And will they do that again? They have some depth, but all of a sudden I wouldn't feel as good if you're replacing Tooney with replacement level guard play.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to push back on Daniel Jeremiah's just premise of three quality offensive linemen means that you're like good to go. Like, I think it's more about you have no holes on the offensive line, right? And now I guess, well, like last year, left tackle was still kind of a hole, but the other four spots were just so solid that you're able to work around it. So maybe it's, you know, do you not have two holes? But, you know, going into this year, we just don't know about left tackle and center, right? I have a lot of – I like the Logan Jones pick. He was my top center for the Bears in the draft. Like, I thought that he was just the perfect fit. We'll see what happens. I mean, Garrett Bradbury is at least a veteran with some experience. He's also got some pedigree. We'll see. But, I mean, Tooney – I mean, he won the Protector of the Year award last year, so that's the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL, right? I know there's some weird stuff that goes into that award, but, you know, that's pretty good. And then Darnell Wright wasn't just a Pro Bowler. He was an All-Pro last year. So, I mean, you're starting there, and you just need to get to three quality O-linemen to fulfill Jeremiah's list. I have no problem saying Jonah Jackson's a quality third offensive lineman when those are your top two.
So, Bob, you mentioned it. There was a hole last year at left tackle, and it didn't end up exposing you. And I think part of that was the benefit of whoever you put there is playing next to Joe Tooney. So the fact that the two holes are to his left and to his right, you hope that he can uplift the play of either player in certain situations. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, let's not forget Garrett Bradbury was in the Super Bowl last year.
That's right. Starting center.
That's right.
Played with a young line that wasn't quite good enough to win the Super Bowl, but he was there.
I don't know if that's necessarily the problem. They have a left tackle with T-Rex arms.
You know, a lot of this stuff, if you're getting a binary assessment, do the Bears have a good enough offensive line to win, or do they not? I think they do. You know, pretty sure binary assessment. Like, yeah, I think there's enough there. And you have enough faith in the coaching staff too. So I think it's okay there.
I see on the ticker over there. Can we skip this next one? Or
I didn't know what the Bears did. I think the Bears skipped it, so why can't we?
Lead us, Bob.
I mean, So if you guys checked out our last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, last episode was Rob's a little bit more update on the stadium situation. And if you guys haven't, go check out some of the stuff Rob has done on the stadium situation this year. It's great information. He's bringing actual politicians to talk. Some episodes he's just giving his own thoughts, but it's really, I think, as good of stadium content out there on a Bears podcast. So please, if you're interested in that stuff, go back and watch those videos. But a couple episodes ago, we were talking about the pass rush and do the Bears even have a chance to win with their current situation? And, I think the rest of the team as a whole, like, you're going to overcome this with improvement from Caleb Williams. Like, offensive improvement is going to cover up these holes. And the fact that you made it, you were 1 play away essentially from the NFC Championship with your current defensive line. Maybe it's not that big a deal. But do the Bears have 2 pass rushers? No. Do the Bears have 1 pass rusher? No. I think Montez Sweat is a very good football player. And this was kind of my thought when even we made the trade for him. I'm like, this isn't a 15 sack a year guy. This is a 7-8 sack a year guy with just solid play up and down the line. But I don't think opposing teams are saying, hey, we need to control Montez's Sweat pass rush. Like, that's not it. So if I'm going to say who the Bears' best pass rusher is, am I crazy to say it's Kyler Gordon? I mean, like, I don't know where, like, else this is coming from. So do the Bears have, 2 pass rushers?
So,
No.
Rob, you said last 6 games of Caleb Williams and extrapolated it out. You could do the same thing for Austin Booker.
I was going to say Booker might be.
And he hasn't yet proven it. He's coming into his 3rd year, which is oftentimes a guy kind of starts to figure things out and go. And the Bears are definitely banking on that. Whether they're right, we'll find out. Now, Daniel Jeremiah, we said offensive playmaker, quality O-lineman, and he just said 2 pass rushers. Like, he didn't even put a qualifying word in there. So, I mean,
there's 5 defensive ends on the team, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's more about, like, and I guess what we should have done, and Rob, you kind of mentioned we may do this, a deeper dive on the NFC North, but did Seattle have 2 pass rushers? You mentioned, Rob, at a previous episode, they had like 4 or 5 guys all with 7 sacks or something like that. And so if you can get a system that produces, first of all, let's have the lead once in a while. That lets pass rushers rush the passer. Let's have better coverage with our back 4 and with our linebacker play. And maybe you get a few coverage sacks. Because at the end of the day, I agree with you, Bob. Montez Sweat is not like your prototypical just, oh my gosh, can you believe this guy's a pass rusher? But he did have double-digit sacks. And so can you get 2 guys to that number? Maybe. And then I would say you'd look at the stats and just say they must have had 2 pass rushers. I'm excited about Austin Booker, but other than him, I don't know what they got.
Yeah, so real quick, just to add a little bit more context here. Look, Montez Sweat, I know on the stat sheet, it looked great. He had 10 sacks, double digits. That's fantastic. He was 17th in the league. That's still not that bad. I would consider that a pass rusher. The problem is when you look at pressure rate, right? He drops all the way to 31, and he's the top pressure rate guy on the Bears defensive line. That is not a good stat. We talked about Seattle. Let's flip it. They had 2 guys in the top 25 in pressure rates, but yet you flip it, they're in the outside the top 30 in sacks because none of them had more than 7 sacks in the season last year. Pressure rate, in my opinion, is probably more important than actually sacking the quarterback. And if you're not consistently getting there at the same time as you are pressuring them, right? Like it's fine if it's like combined, but if you're not getting those pressures, you just don't have a defensive line that can do anything. I know Booker had a good extrapolation that we could, and hope that it does build and we can see that this year. But I mean, they're bringing in a guy. We'll talk about that in a different episode. They clearly know that they have a hole here. And to Bob's point, we talk about how it's just not Dennis Allen's thing. And he's more about bringing guys from different spots and trying to confuse and mask and disguise and hope that, the defensive line can just do enough so that the back end can kind of take over. I don't know if that's winning success in football anymore on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to see, because these are now his guys more than it was last year. I just don't know if it's going to fully translate. I'm still excited. I think they're going to be just as good. I don't think they will be any worse. My only concern is, will they still be able to get the takeaways?
Now, I don't want people to say we're cherry picking or being lazy with the extrapolation of Austin Booker. I want to point out that he was a second-year player who started the season injured. So to say he ended strong is saying he's figuring things out and he was healthy. And so therefore, that's why you pick that and say, can this be him going forward? Who knows? But it was looking promising, including in huge games. Some of that was including his 2 playoff games where he was getting pressures and sacks.
Yeah, he had 3.5 sacks in December and then another sack against Green Bay. So, I mean,
Rob, do you have the pressure rate pulled up, like the rankings, or you were just – how many did New England have? So the other team that was in the Super Bowl, did they have guys up there?
New England did not have anyone in the top 25 in pressures.
So it's another thing to kind of talk through and think through, like top 25, there's 32 teams in the NFL, right? So, I mean, what do you even need to do in that ranking to be considered good? I mean, 1 in the top 15, that makes a lot of sense, right? But do you need 3 in the top 45? Do you need, what is that cutoff where you're like, yeah, now we're consistently putting pressure?
So the Seattle had 3 in the top 50.
Okay. All right.
New England had 2, but they were 46 and 47. And the Bears, like I said, just had Montez Sweat at 31 and nowhere else, not even no, Jermon Dexter, my guy, Jermon Dexter is 56.
I think it's how many guys you have in the top 56, Rob. That's what the key is. Where was Jalen Carter? You're not going to tell us? You don't want to say?
A little text search right now.
Jalen Carter was 77.
Really?
Okay. All
right. Well, I do think that's the weakest one on this list. And Bob, you had already negated it in a previous episode. So, however, not just pass rushers, edges, defensive playmakers overall. And pre-episode, I was joking, did Cleveland go to the Super Bowl with Myles Garrett setting the sack record? He had to count as a playmaker as well. And the Bears, we talked about their deficiencies maybe with pass rushers, but I think they do have playmakers all across the field. It's just a matter of how proven are they, and now coming together. A lot of them are new. Will they gel accordingly? But let me see. Can I get to the numbers 3, right? Unfortunately, my first one to mind is Kyler Gordon, but availability is the most important ability, and he doesn't have that. So I can't put him on the list.
Already has a soft tissue issue.
Jalen Johnson, are you getting 2 years ago, Jalen Johnson, or are you getting last year? So I'm not putting him there. But I do like Devin Bush. I do like Kobe Bryant. They're both new additions, though. We haven't seen them in this system. And I like Dylan Thieneman, but he's a rookie. So this one's tricky for me. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I like what you said there. I mean, because it's potentially, yes, potentially they have 3 defensive playmakers. And the 3 that I say are Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, and Thieneman. I think those are the 3. I like Kobe Bryant. I like Devin Bush. But I think that they've had enough time in the NFL where their ceiling is just being a very, very good player. And I don't know that necessarily kind of like elite playmaker, I guess is what I think. But, I mean, we've seen Kyler Gordon make game-changing plays. We've seen Jalen Johnson shut down number 1 wide receivers that we hope that Thieneman is able to come in and make plays. But I think the potential is there. But, just have to see it. We just have to absolutely see it before we can say yes. Rob?
Yeah, so I'll actually push back a little bit. I actually think Kobe Bryant is a playmaker on this defense. I think he's a playmaker in this league. I think he was playing corner, which I know he played that position in college. And I just think that when he made the shift to safety, that's when you truly saw his game expand. And that's when you saw him like find his true calling. I actually am going to push back. I don't think I can count Kyler Gordon. I think to Justin's point, I think the fact that he's just hardly ever available. He's already got an injury that we're dealing with already in May. And like, it's another soft tissue injury. Is he going to be on the PUP list again? I mean, those questions bother me. Jalen Johnson, I'm sorry. I guess in my opinion, I think the way that he played, even after he was starting to get healthy last year, it just wasn't enough for me. Bob, I think you hit the nail on the head. potential. Potentially, do they have 3 playmakers? Yes. Could it be Devin Bush? Yes. Could it be Kobe Bryant? Yes. Could it be a rookie in Dylan Thieneman? Yes. Could it be Jalen Johnson returning to form? Yes. Could Eric Gordon stay? Kyler Gordon. I said Eric Gordon. Could Kyler Gordon stay healthy? Wrong sport.
Cross-handed threes.
Could he stay healthy and be a playmaker? Yes. The problem is, there's too many
Could
questions.
Javon Dexter up that pressure rate?
No. Look, I love my guy. He has hit his ceiling. He's not getting any better, guys. I think that's what you get. What you see is what you get. He's going to be a guy who's going to get you 6-7 sacks from the interior. I think that's good. I think that's something that is necessarily what's needed within the NFL, but he's now just a guy. He is not a playmaker. No one else on that defensive line except for maybe Austin Booker, who could potentially get to that point, could be that guy. But look, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say no. On defense, they don't have the 2 pass rushers. They don't have the 3 defensive playmakers. And that's my concern. And I think that's what we should be worried about. This offense is going to have to put up 35 points a game and hope that the defense can maintain less than 30.
Rob, you just stole my thunder. I was going to ask you guys, and at the risk of sounding like a Cincinnati Bengals fan, how many points per game will the offense need to average where you won't be concerned about the number of playmakers that are on the defense? And you just threw out 35. I mean, that's tough to average that, but could this offense be averaging upper 20 points a game and have the lead, like I said, which makes it easier to, do everything on defense?
So, Justin, I feel like you said something similar on a previous episode, but I just feel like as Bears fans, we're so conditioned to think that we're going to hold the opposing team to 13 points. And man, if we can just score 17, we could win 12 games. And I think we need to flip it around. And you see the moves this team is making. They took a center. They took a third tight end 3. I'm not going to call him a third string tight end. A tight end 3 instead of defensive playmakers potentially, because this is the vision they have. It's no longer, man, if we can just score 17, then we'll hold them to 13. Not worried about that. It's now, hey, we're going to score 33 points. As long as we can hold them to 28, we're going to be fine. And I just think that that's just kind of where this team is at right now.
And I think that speaks to this exercise I don't think, and I'd love to hear, from other people in the comment section, but there's not just one way to set up a contending roster. For Daniel Jeremiah to say, you need this, you need this, you need this. Well, maybe you compensate by, we have a offensive minded coach. He runs a system. We're going to keep feeding that and feeding that and feeding that so that the other things can take a secondary, complementary is what they always say, approach to things. And it might work. I mean, I kind of do want to go over and look at some other rosters. I mean, the Rams, for instance, they seem like a very balanced team, but it's the offense that comes to my mind. They probably have more playmakers on the defensive side than the Bears did, at least last season.
Be curious where the Seahawks land on this type of list.
It's true. And they just lost one of their playmakers.
Would you have said that Sam Darnold was a quarterback that could win you a championship?
I mean, this time last year, was JSN even a definite offensive playmaker?
There's quarterbacks you win with and quarterbacks you win because of.
Yeah,
that's true. Brad Johnson. Vinny Testaverde.
Wow. The way back.
Just a real quick. So the team that had the most points per game last year was the LA Rams at 30. The Bears fell at 25.7. So I think they do got to creep closer to that 30 mark this year in order to feel a little bit more comfortable, especially again, because I'm worried about not getting those takeaways, right? I mean, they led the league last year in takeaways. I can't expect them to do the same this year. I don't know. I don't want to be like take my bear goggles off, but it just, when you look at this defense, you got so many question marks. I like the moves that they made, but I'm just concerned it's not enough.
What if 5 of the takeaways they had last season, Rob, instead of being takeaways, you just forced a punt? I mean, the Bears couldn't get off the field. They were giving up rushing yards like crazy. First down,
what you used to talk about, first and second down.
Third and 8 guys are wide open. What?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So I don't know. I think the number will come down for takeaways, but maybe that's because you're actually getting teams off the field. I don't know. Just an idea.
That will work for me.
I'll take it.
But a little bit of pushback before we move on to the outro here. I think for the longest time, I don't know if it was necessarily 12-17. I think it was more like 3-9. I don't even think we expected to score touchdowns. We just wanted 3 field goals.
Yeah, some of those Shane Matthews-led Bears teams.
Yeah. For those of you who are still with us, we're just feeding into the misery right now.
There'll be some episodes this summer that might go that route. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have some fun again for sure.
All right.
Well, hopefully you're having fun, Halas Huddlers.
Yes. Help us get to 2,000. Hit the subscribe button right now if you have not. Look, if you're a Bears fan, there's no reason you should not be subscribed to our show. Right? We're not putting out daily content like CHGO. We're not the ESPNs of the world, but we are putting out consistent content talking about relevant news, whether it's the stadium stuff, whether it's news that we're going to touch on throughout the OTAs, whether it's news that's going to come out during training camp. We dive deep into certain areas and we, typically we might hit on things that other shows might not. So hit the subscribe button, please, just give us a listen. If you love the Bears, you should be following us. That's it. That's all I got to say.
So we're going to have as much fun as anybody else doing it too. I promise you that.
That's right.
All
Until
right.
next time, guys. You got anything? Sorry, Justin, I cut you off.
Go.
All right. Bear down. Claws up.
It's after Packers all over.